Hi, my name is Ollie Offord from Borby Castle School, and today we'll be talking about Pythagoras and the special relationship he found between three sides of a right-angled triangle. It's important because it comes up in exams almost every year, and that's because we can use it all the time in the real world. One of the newest areas we work with Pythagoras nowadays is the size of a screen. The size of the latest techno gizmo is one of its biggest selling points. The bigger the screen, the better. But the size isn't measured by its width. It's not measured by its length. Companies want to show off the biggest number possible, and that's going to come from the diagonal distance across. These things are difficult to measure. Not only is it hard to get your ruler right in the corner, but it is almost impossible to measure it accurately without going all over the place. And that's where Pythagoras comes in. I don't think Pythagoras, who lived over 2,500 years ago, would ever have thought we'd be using his relationship for measuring the size of our plasma screens, but there we go. He found that when you create squares from the two smaller sides of a right-angled triangle, you can add them together to create the square from the longest side, a side we call the hypotenuse. If we label each of these sides A, B, C, we can generate the formula which you'll need to remember: a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And so we can use this to find the diagonals across our screen. Because if we know the two shorter sides, the length and the width, which are a lot easier to measure, then we can find out the diagonal length. In the case of our iPad, we have a width of 6 inches and a length of 8 inches. So let's calculate that distance across. If we label this side A, this side B, and our missing side C, we can work with that. So we know that 6 squared equals 36, 8 squared equals 64, and so C squared is going to equal both of these added together, 36 plus 64, which is going to give us 100. So c squared equals 100. But we're looking for just c. So we must remember to square root it so that we end up with c equals the square root of 100, which is 10. And that is your final answer. The distance across our iPad is 10 inches. This last step, the square rooting, is something that we absolutely have to remember, and is something that commonly people forget. If you don't square root it and leave it as c squared, you'll end up with a final answer of 100 inches. Now, as much as Apple like to boast about their products, a screen 100 inches across is the same as 2.5 meters. That would make the iPad bigger than your bed. So make sure you check you've square rooted it before you leave an unrealistic answer. What about this computer screen? What do you think? Well, we're looking for this diagonal distance across. So the first thing we're going to do is square both sides. 30 squared equals 900. Don't worry, you can use a calculator. 40 squared equals 1,600. Both of these added together make c squared, which is 2,500. Now we must remember to square root it, so the square root of 2,500 equals 50. So the diagonal distance across this computer screen is 50 centimetres. Don't forget your units. Another really important thing about this formula is that it only works for right-angled triangles. You cannot use it if there is not an angle of 90 degrees. Just imagine a TV like this. It just looks odd. There aren't any 90-degree angles, so we cannot use Pythagoras' theorem. If there are no angles of 90 degrees in your triangle, we cannot use this formula. And the places you can find Pythagoras are endless. Just look at these roofs. There are so many right angles. There's one here, there's one here, and here. This means that a builder can know the height of the attic, the width of the floor, and then be able to calculate how much tile he needs for the roof. There are some more complicated questions involving Pythagoras, and they come when you already know the hypotenuse, the longest side. Say you know this is a 35-inch TV, because it said so in the advert. You also know that the length across is 28 inches. How could you find out the other side to see if it would fit on your shelf? If we label our sides A, B and C, we know that A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So if we take away A squared from C squared, we'll be left with B squared. So let's use this equation to find our missing side. 35 squared is 1,225. 28 squared is 784. So what we have to do is take away 784 from 1,225, which leaves us with 441. So that means that B squared has to be 441. But wait there, we're not finished yet. Remember, we've only found B squared so far, and having a TV that was 441 inches tall would mean your screen would be higher than 2 floors in your house, which is a tad unrealistic. So we must remember to square root our B squared to find the length of our side B. The square root of 441 is 21, so our missing side is 21 inches. So there you have it. Pythagoras, an incredibly useful tool for finding the missing length on a right-angled triangle. Try and spot some places where you could use it in your own home.